Game started.
Rolf. Rolf from Chile. Okay, well, let's try e4. e6, French defense. If I get a chance, I'll try one of those lines. Oh, no, not going to try it. Not getting the chance. Okay, against d6, what do? You can keep pushing pawns and take more space in the center. I don't want to push the f pawn. The queen can come out here, but I could push the c pawn. It's usually good. It's usually good to get 3 pawns in the center. And now, yeah, white can set about black can set about trying to undermine those pawns, attacking them. So he's just going to castle kingside. Let's develop another piece before we decide. The dark squared bishop can't go to this square. And so I'm thinking of putting it on e3, and I don't want his knight coming to g4 to hit the bishop. So bishop g3 now, or bishop to f4 is also possible. Yeah, after pushing the c pawn, I'm not so inclined to castle queenside. So let's just castle kingside and think about where to put that bishop a little bit. Is it a target? I mean, if I put it on f4, is he going to play g5 and gain a tempo on the knight? I mean, he's not set up for a kingside attack, so that doesn't seem likely. And f4 seems more active, hitting some of these center squares, so let's just put it there. Maybe play e5, hitting the bishop and forcing an exchange. So all my pieces are out, and he's got 2 minor pieces undeveloped as yet. So I would think that opening up the center here would be good for me, and open up lines for the bishops. A simple plan here is to push e5, drive the knight away, drop the bishop back, play queen to d3, and checkmate. Well, that's a little bit long-winded. So, okay, so he's going to develop his bishop on that diagonal, which is good diagonal for the bishop. But I'm going to go ahead with my plan of pushing e5 and forcing at least one line to open up, because he can hardly avoid, he can move, okay. I can take a pawn here if I want to open up a line. And should I take that pawn? If he pushes, it'll just block up his bishop. Maybe I should play this simple plan of queen to d3 to h7 checkmate. It's a little bit hard to defend, actually, because oh no, his knight's now defending h6, so he can just play g6. After g6, though, I can drop my queen back. Say queen d3, g6, queen d2, hitting the h pawn. He can move his king forward to defend it. He's not dead yet. Okay, so he's just going there. I'm going to go ahead and make my crude threat. See how he reacts. Yeah, so now maybe I want to keep my queen in line with the knight, so that bishop takes knight is not messing up my pawns. So queen to this square, queen to e3. Really threatening to take on take on h6. So I'm expecting king somewhere. King could go to g7 or h7. Maybe is the more flexible move. Now the knight. Can I get the knight in the game? Hard to see how. Oh, I know. Route the knight around this way. Okay, before I do that, so maybe the other knight, leave this knight here and bring the other knight in. No, this knight ends up on the wrong square. I want to get a knight to this square, and it's hard for this knight to get there. Okay, so knight here to g4. More ganging up on the h6 square. So knight h2 to g4 to h6 is the plan. He can block with his bishop here. But it might leave him with some dark squared weaknesses. And I guess the other thing I can think about is pawn moves. With the knight out of the way, maybe. Okay, so he's bringing his knight in. Okay, so where is he going after knight to g4? What is his plan? I could play g4. He could play. I mean, he could play g5. He could play bishop g5. He could play pawn to h5. Pawn to h5 allows knight g6, but is the knight doing any knight h6? Is the knight doing anything on that square? Just kind of sitting there. Maybe I'll trade off this knight and then get my bishop in here. But yeah, so h5 seems like it weakens things. So bishop g5 maybe. And pawn takes, knight takes, or pawn takes. Probably pawn takes. Keeping a bind on these squares if I can. And okay, so you want the h5. So can I? Do I want to play knight to h6? So knight to h6. Knight takes, bishop takes, check. Wins the exchange at least. Knight to h6, and he makes some other move. I can at least take the knight to escape from this prison. Because his knight has no moves. Can't go to any squares. So his knight is not running away from my knight, so I can force a trade of knights here. And okay, he defended his bishop. I'm not sure what. Oh, maybe he's just providing an escape square for the king. Or maybe he wants to take and then I'll take. Well, let's see where he goes. Can take back with the king or the rook. So now I can put my bishop here with check and keep it there and keep his king
check
corralled on this side of the board. So now I can't bring a rook in, for example, to chase my bishop away. And but he's defended He's defended his g-pawn, so there's no idea of a sacrifice here. Is there? Well, let's try and bring the knight in. Knight here hits f7, might be interesting. Knight here, bishop takes, bishop takes. Okay, so he got it. He took it off with that bishop first. Okay, understandable choice. So, is there anything going on here? Queen, maybe queen f3 hitting f2. It's maybe a little difficult to defend. Hitting f7. He can't defend with the rook or the king. But his king could just attack my bishop. Although, actually, that's not quite true. King h7 and this g-pawn is pinned, and I can take on h5 with the queen, defending my bishop. That's kind of cute. The knight can't go anywhere to defend that pawn. He can actually win a pawn here by just taking, but queen here seems like it should be dangerous. It's hitting the e-pawn at least. So pawn takes, queen takes, pawn takes, queen takes. Is there anything else after queen takes? Oh, maybe bishop takes, that's it. Pawn takes, queen takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, threatening checkmate, and that wins the exchange. So I think if I do okay, queen there, yep, queen defense. So how to increase the pressure? Maybe g4 takes, and I get to the h file. Maybe king here first and rook g1 and g4, although it seems a bit slow. Yeah, he can grab this pawn now. Probably should have done something about that. Yep, yeah, I forgot about that pawn. I think if he takes on d4, I probably won't take back with a pawn because I would just activate his knight. I might play, if he plays pawn takes d5, I might just push on with, if he plays pawn takes e5, I might push on with d5. But then he can play f4 after that. It's not so good. So g4 right away, opening up things here and getting my rook to g1. That's probably the way to play it, after kind of trying to clog up the center a bit. And the other problem with playing d5 is it opens up this square c5 for his knight. Okay, but he's not playing that way. But he's hitting my bishop. So I can drop my bishop back and defend this pawn, which maybe I should do. And then, but let's think about this. If I put the bishop here, he's going to, he can push the pawn. I can take here with check after he pushes the pawn. So bishop here, pawn to g5, queen takes h5, check. Oh, no, he can't push the pawn, it's pinned. I'm silly. Oh, he did that trick. I forgot my own trick. After king h7, I could have just taken on h5 because of the pin. Totally forgot about that. Well, let's see if he spots it on this move. Otherwise, queen takes h5 is pretty dangerous looking. Yeah, this pawn is just loose on h5. I mean, I had a loose pawn, but he's got a pawn that's important for this defense here that's also loose. And actually, after I take, if he does nothing, then queen takes here, check. King only has one move, and then queen to h6 is checkmate. King can't escape to the square because the pawn and his escape on the other squares are blocked by the rook and the pawn. So, depending on what he plays, if he plays pawn takes, I can still take here with check, and then decide on my next move. Maybe bishop here check. And queen here check, and then force the king to this square, and then bishop here check is mating too. So he spotted it. Well, that's too bad. Too bad. Okay, so my advantage has become mostly just a time advantage, I think. But anyway, let's push on with g4 and try and open this up. open some lines up against that king. This was my plan, and the reason why I moved the king to the h-file was so I could play g4 and get an open line here that was not going to be a line against my king, but against his king. And here, so the pawn is once again pinned, and I'm threatening to take his rook. This might just be a time win because he's got a difficult position here. And he's going to have to move quickly to make that time control. Well, he's got only, basically he's down to the 5 seconds or 4 seconds per move in this. It's 8 minutes with a 4-second increment. So he's going for simplification. I'm going to keep bringing my pieces over. So now bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes, check. Looks pretty dangerous. So bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes, check. King goes to this square, it's the only square, and bishop here, check. And the king can't run away because my queen is guarding his square. So bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes, check. I mean, I'm double checking here because it's easy to make a mistake in these things. Yes, his king really only has one move, and then bishop here, check. His king has no moves, so he could interpose the rook, and I win it with the bishop. Okay, so after bishop takes here, he really can't afford to take the bishop.
Check.
Famous last words.
Check.
Yeah, so this, I think, should force a win, huh? Yeah, so should I take with the bishop? Yeah, I should,
check,
because that wins the queen.
Check.
And, okay, so I just calm down.
Black
and,
resigns.
give my opponent a chance to resign. You know, there's no way I could lose. Well, I suppose it's still possible to lose, but I'd have to play awfully bad. Okay, well, interesting attacking game. I will upload this and do a postmortem. See you guys later.